Hello, I'm Paul Perrello, and welcome again to the Philly Factor. Located in the heart of Philadelphia, the Shrine of Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal provides a sanctuary for prayer, meditation, and pilgrimage to God and to our Blessed Virgin Mary. The Central Association of the Miraculous Medal is responsible and dedicated to spreading devotions to Mary Immaculate and her miraculous medal, supporting the promotion of this devotion, helping the formation and education of seminarians, providing care to the aged and infirm priest and brothers of the Eastern Province, and supporting programs that provide assistance to the poor. We're going to learn more about the association as well as the shrine. And here to talk about the Central Association of the Miraculous Medal, I want to first welcome Mary Jo Timlin-Hoag, Chief Executive Officer, and joining Mary Jo is Father Michael Carroll, Director of the Miraculous Medal Shrine and Spiritual Director, Central Association of the Miraculous Medal. And I want to welcome both of you to our program.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be here.
Mary Jo, I'm going to throw the first question at you because it's one that I know you'll be able to answer because you find yourself in the position now of being the first woman to serve as CEO of the Central Association of the Miraculous Medal. The first woman to serve in that capacity in the organization's 104-year history.
That's correct, Paul.
So how fortunate and lucky are you to be in this position?
You know, I think fortunate and lucky is probably the phrase to put to it. I remember that when I applied for the position and I went through the interview process and I was graciously given the role, I didn't realize that I would be the first woman to do this in the 104 history until I walked in the door in the first day, and my communications director said, "Oh, we've got to tell the world about this. You're the first female." And I said, "No, that can't be possibly true." And so that was a bit overwhelming, but I think so incredibly exciting to be there, to kind of come with a different thought process of how to manage things and move things forward. And again, I've got this huge devotion to Our Blessed Lady, so I think it was just a win for me to be there.
And you came primarily from the private sector. In looking at your resume, it's sort of a who's who in the Philadelphia business community. You took all that experience, and now you're using it for the benefit of the shrine and the association.
I did. I came from industry focused, here in Philadelphia and then across the U.S. Some pretty big organizations, but I'll tell you, I think I was always meant to be here at the Shrine. My journey in businesses taught me everything I need so that I can come into the Shrine pretty confidently and say, hey, how can I move this forward? So I think I was in training just to make it to the Shrine.
Sure, yeah. Father, I want to also welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Paul.
The Shrine has been there for well over
140 years.
140 years. Why did they pick this part of Philadelphia to locate the shrine?
Well, that's the good question. So the Vincentians have been in East Germantown for 170 years, and we just celebrated that anniversary this past year. So we first came to the city about 10 years before that. The Archbishop then invited us to come and to staff the seminary. This is before the seminary was in Overbrook. It was down next to the cathedral. And then he wanted to give us a parish. So he gave us St. Vincent de Paul Parish on Price Street in Germantown. And we arrived here 170 years ago, and it was right at the end of the period in history known as the Know-Nothing period, where people were burning the churches. And when we arrived in Germantown, they said you could still see the embers of the burnt churches on the empty lots. And that's the world that we walked into. It was also a world filled with a lot of prejudice towards Irish and towards Catholics. It's very common in all the mills along Germantown Avenue to see signs, Catholics, Irish need not apply.
Wow.
And so then 20 years after arriving in St. Vincent's Parish, we purchased the land that the Miraculous Medal Shrine is currently on. And we purchased the land to build a seminary to form priests. And so next to the shrine is St. Vincent's Seminary. And the reason we purchased that parcel, it was the only parcel that people in those days would sell to Catholics.
Wow.
And so the shrine was built, the Shrine Church, 140 years ago. We were going to build a new seminary chapel because we had so many seminarians. And Archbishop Wood was the Bishop of Philadelphia at that time. And he said, if you're going to build a chapel, build it on the street so that people who live in that area would have another place to go and to pray. And so for over 100 years, we called it the public chapel. Wow. Because within the house is a community chapel, and this was the public chapel, where people could stop and pray. And then in 1927, the devotion to Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal began, and the Miraculous Medal Shrine was built within that chapel. And so we've been having a novena on Mondays, every Monday since 1927.
Wow.
We call it the Perpetual Novena.
Yeah. A lot of people may be familiar with the location. A lot of people travel not just from around the corner or across the street, but really travel from around the region and perhaps even around the country and the world to come to the shrine. Was there, for the Vincentians, was there a reason that they decided to dedicate the shrine to the Miraculous Medal? They could have created a shrine to any of the saints or even
Sure.
Jesus himself if they wanted to. But why did they pick Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal?
It was really that Mary, the Blessed Mother, chose us. In 1832, the Blessed Mother appeared to St. Catherine Labouré in Paris. Catherine Labouré was the novice of the Daughters of Charity. The Daughters of Charity are the sister community of the Vincentian Fathers and Brothers. And the Blessed Mother gave Catherine Labouré the medal. And she told her to promulgate the medal. So the task was given to the Vincentian Fathers. It's one of our main works, to promulgate devotion to Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal. And so we speak of the medal as a gift from heaven. It was first called the Medal of the Immaculate Conception, but very quickly people began to experience miracles, people who wore the medal. And the medal was popularly changed to the Medal of Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal.
It's such a fascinating story just to learn, as all the details surrounding how the shrine came to be. Yes. Here in Philadelphia. Mary Jo, from your perspective now, coming in and perhaps learning a lot of the history, what do you see as the big, I hate the word challenge, but I guess the big mission that you are faced with, given that, I often say there are so many well-known places out there in Philadelphia, and then there are places that some people have heard of or they think they've heard of, but they're not really sure much about it. And in this case, and I told the personal story myself, that when my mother and father were married, they desperately wanted to start a family, and for whatever reason they couldn't, but my mother made the novena at the shrine, and kiddingly, as I said, obviously something worked,
right.
Because I'm here. But how do you get the word out about your work?
Yeah.
And letting the public know what the shrine and the association are all about.
I think when the shrine was at its peak around World War II, we would have upwards of 15,000 visitors to the novena every Monday. But times have changed, and the world has changed, and it's evolved. And so we don't get 15,000 per Monday, but we still get quite a few, well over 1,000, 1,500 on Mondays that will come through the novenas that we have. But communication has changed since World War II. It was word of mouth, it was parishes, it was family members who would come to the shrine for whatever reason. Now it's about how do we get it out more broadly. And so this 2 years that I've been in my role, I've taken a close look at how we communicate all the activities around the shrine, why we're here, who are the Vincentians, what do they do in Philadelphia and the Eastern Province. And I've really taken a campaign to put it more broadly. So we have a website. We have a social media platform, which is around Facebook and Instagram. We've taken in the last year and a half a campaign to develop videos that tell the story of the Vincentians, that tell the story of the Miraculous Medal, and we put them both on the Miraculous Medal website and our Vincentian website. And we have a magazine that goes out. It's called The Message, and that goes out twice a year, and that captures the story of Mary, of her gifts and her rays that she has given to people, but also the good works of the Vincentians. So we've tried to touch the communication platform every which way we can for a modern world to get the news and the message out. And I can tell you, on Facebook alone, we have just about 3 million followers, and we touch every part of the world. And we get communications and people who respond to us from the European nations, from Canada, from the Philippines, to South America, everywhere, and the United States, everywhere. So we've taken a big push and a big campaign to spread the news from that perspective. Locally, We touch the parishes. We work with the archdiocese. We work with a lot of the schools that still remain, CCD classes, any of the senior citizen clubs that happen to be around. And again, on any kind of advertising, whether it be paper advertising or radios, to try and get the news out and to communicate, that the shrine is alive and well, and we still support the novena, but we've got a lot of other robust programs that we can offer for people.
I want to get into some of those other programs, but just to put everything into perspective, you said, back after or during World War II, 15,000 people would turn out,
Yeah.
but to put everything in perspective, I think if you were to look at church attendance, Father, generally speaking today, I think most would agree that, people are still going to church, but the numbers that we saw back in the day may not necessarily be there today like it was after World War II.
It's absolutely true. I mean, everything has changed. So much has changed. During the war, when we'd get those crowds of 15,000 people on a Monday, people had a great need. They were praying for the protection of their loved ones who were fighting the war. They were praying for the protection of their loved ones who lived in Europe and lived in Asia. And so they had immediate need to place before the Blessed Mother. The Blessed Mother's promise was, come to the altar and there place your needs. And these folks heard that call, their need was great, and they came to the chapel to place their needs in Mary's arms. The other day, a woman in confession gave me a little brochure, and it was made up for the soldiers. It was given to them as they went to war.
Wow.
And it was Mary's protection, and inside, attached to the folder, was a Miraculous Medal. So people had a great trust, a great faith in Mary's promise. The promise was, wear the medal, and you'll receive Mary's protection. And so throughout the war, and even now, it's a very popular medal. My comrade here, Mary Jo, anytime we're at a meeting anywhere, and the room is full of people, she'll say to them, show me your medal. She wants people to know how important it is to wear the medal, and that with the medal comes promises, and it's Mary's care, Mary's protection.
And what's so amazing about that is that Mary Jo talked about the technology that we have today, but at the very basis, Mary's message really hasn't changed. The medal, I mean, you talk about, Facebook, you talk about the internet, you talk about, web videos and everything. It all comes down to the medal and Mary's gift, as you said, to us.
It's a gift from heaven. And maybe Mary Jo could talk about, on Mondays we have 6 novena services, but it also goes out online. And maybe you could speak about the number of hits that program gets.
So I'm going to, keep me honest here. So we do live streaming of the novena every Monday, and that goes out around. It goes on a web, so anybody around the world can see this, and we get a good amount of hits on it. So we capture it 2 ways. Those folks who are watching it actually at the time that it happens, and then afterwards when it's recorded and people can watch it throughout. And we get thousands of hits. And of course we get hundreds of thousands of hits when we have the holy days, when there's something specific around Mary or a Marian type of a holy day. But that has been an incredibly powerful tool to engage people to the message of Mary and to keep people close to Mary's message. The numbers change on a weekly basis, and we know we're doing good because the numbers are going up, they're not going down. From the live streaming piece of it. So I think that there's a need for Mary still in this world, and I think people are understanding that need and they're coming back.
The other thing is, when we talk about engaging people, I think one of the challenges, not only that you might have, but I think the church has in general, is engaging younger people in, just maybe even getting them to go to church on Saturday night or Sunday. So how are you reaching out? What programs or initiatives do you have to try to reach out to younger people who may have in grade school have heard about St. Catherine Labouré, and they may have heard about, the Miraculous Medal, or maybe even attended a service at their church, but how do you engage them in this social media world that we're in, where they may not be going to the website and clicking on your site, but how do you engage younger people, a younger demographic to your mission?
So we started a program early on in my tenure to focus specifically on youth and young adult. The youth being the wee ones, you know, in grade school and then up through high school. But then we wanted to get those who are college age and beyond, up to age 44, 45. For those who have left the church, for those who still have a love for the church, but engage them in the conversation around Mary. And so we've started programs that we invite them back to the shrine, and we do things like Holy Hour, Happy Hour, things that you know, they'd want to come back and learn a little bit more about the church, maybe not in the full mass component, but we do have a holy hour, and then we do have conversation around their spiritual needs or what they're thinking about the church, and then it becomes a social time. So you get those young adults who are like-minded or maybe seeking to be like-minded to want to come together and have those conversations. We offer service for the young adult, and what I'm finding is this, and I say this with reverence, service seems to be the prayer of the young adult. They want to give back, and if that's a way that I can bring them back to the shrine, bring them back to Mary and her son through a service project, these are the things that we are developing and we are offering to them as well. We've had some pretty good success with that. We're partnering with the Archdiocese. We've developed programs that can support any types of retreats or pilgrimages for young adults, young adult leaders, ministers, campus ministers, or youth leaders to help them with the really hard tasks that they have. And we've developed sacramental programs for the wee ones, the small ones, where we bring them in and support them through confirmation and Holy Communion and such like that. But slowly but surely, there's a real interest in seeing what's going on at the shrine.
Father, could you talk briefly about, I guess, the relationship between not only your order and the shrine and the Archdiocese? Because, you know, oftentimes, you know, everybody just thinks of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. They think everything falls underneath the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. But can you talk about the relationship between the two?
So the Vincentians have, as I said earlier, been in Philadelphia since about 1841. And you come at the invitation of the Archbishop. And it was Archbishop Brian at that time who knew the Vincentians from Ireland, and he had them in the seminary. And he wanted them to come and to staff the seminary in the early days of the seminary. And so they did that. I mean, in the early days of this country, the Vincentians were very present in terms of running seminaries throughout the entire country. St. Vincent de Paul was our founder, and one of his main focuses was the reformation of priests, the reforming of priests. And so he gave many, many priests to conducting seminaries. The other point of service was service to the poor. And so that's why we find ourselves in East Germantown for these 170 years. We arrived when it was poor. It continues to be poor to this day, and we continue to serve. One of the projects that the entire congregation is focused on is a program called the 13 Houses program. And it's a program that was founded to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the foundation of the Vincentian family. And so St. Vincent de Paul in his lifetime had opened 13 houses for the poor. So in 156 countries throughout the world, the entire Vincentian family is engaged in providing housing for the poor. And so at this time, we're examining what we can do here in East Germantown for this 13 Houses program. But our relationship with the bishops and the Archdiocese has always been most cordial.
We talked about the new technology. We talked about embracing the future and trying to get your mission out there to people. How have your fellow priests sort of embraced this technology? Because it's one thing to get up on the altar and talk to a congregation that you see in front of you. Now, all of a sudden, a priest like yourself, your fellow priest, are now talking to congregations via this medium that really you, Father, could be seen in Guatemala if someone has internet access.
Exactly, but it's actually very user-friendly. That's why it works.
Yeah.
Most of the time, while we're sitting here for this program, most of the time you don't know what's happening. Okay, we have people who are running the cameras and running the program, and the priest pretty much has to do what he normally does.
Sure.
So I think they're rather comfortable with it now at this point.
Yeah, well, that's good. The shrine is located in Germantown,
Correct.
as we mentioned, easily accessible by car as well as mass transit.
Exactly correct. We've got buses that drop you off right in front of the shrine. We've got SEPTA rail, which is just about a block and a half down, and we've got parking lots that can accommodate parking from both sides of the street because the CAM building is across the street from the shrine, so very easily accessible.
What do you say, Mary Jo, to someone watching this show right now who might want to take a visit and travel to the shrine and visit the shrine? It may be the first time that they have ever come out of their comfort zone to travel to a neighborhood like Germantown.
Sure.
But they feel this devotion, they feel this pull that this is where they want to go. So what should they expect?
Wow, what should they expect? I think the first thing they should expect that when they get to the shrine, I think you see the building from the outside and you say it's a terrific building. But when you open those doors and you walk into the shrine, it will take their breath away. It is incredibly beautiful. It's incredibly peaceful. And you may actually see this person wandering around that you say, I don't know, what is this person doing in the shrine? She looks a little bit different. It's our St. Catherine Labouré. And so we have Catherine Labouré, who is there to greet the visitors, to come in and tell her story of how she met the Blessed Mother and how the Miraculous Medal came about. It's a very warm and it's a very welcoming space to be. And I think that if you travel very short distance or very long distances, it's well worth your while. You'll get to see the story of Mary in all of her glory on the altar. You'll get to see her incredibly beautiful shrine. And then you'll see the beautiful shrine to her son, which is just opposite of where Mary's shrine is. The people at the shrine and the staff are very welcoming. They'll answer any of your questions and they'll do anything for you. It's family, and it very much feels that way.
And you can come and pay a visit for a half hour, stay as long as you want.
You can stay for the full time that we're open, or you can come in for 5 minutes and pop in, and we're open 7 days a week.
Yep. In the few minutes that we have left, are you able to track or gauge the person that may have visited from the furthest destination? I mean, it's great for someone to be coming from Northeast Philadelphia to the shrine, but do you know where the great lengths that they've traveled to come to the shrine?
We do. We greet every person that comes through the shrine. And so we know our typical folks, so we call them the fountain. We see them all the time. We know that. But we greet every person that comes through the shrine. We have a personal interaction with them, and so we know exactly where they come from and how far they've come. And we've had them from all over the world, truly all over the world.
Father, volunteers, because that really is probably the backbone of much of what you do and what Mary Jo does, is that there's a legion of volunteers that are out there to help you both in your mission to get the word out about the Miraculous Medal and the shrine.
So we do. We have some people who are extremely generous in terms of taking shrine literature to their home parishes so that people can find it in the back of their churches, whether it's in Bucks County or in Chester County or Montgomery County or Delaware County. So we have people who do that. We have people who come and volunteer to stuff envelopes. There's a little gift package that's given to all the visitors who come to the shrine, and everyone receives a Miraculous Medal. So we have folks who put all that together. We have other folks who volunteer to be ministers at masses, as readers and Eucharistic ministers, as altar servers. So there's a whole group of people who are active and participate in the daily life of the shrine.
I want to talk again about the perpetual novena, because I think this is so important in getting the message out. And if you can't physically travel to the shrine, you can participate in that novena online.
Online. So if you go to our website, which is miraculousmedal.org, on Monday, you can see all of our past novenas. They're there for anybody who wants them, and then they'll cue you into our novena for the present day, and you can watch for the entire time for all of it. And we do special masses as well. So if you follow us and you follow us on our website, you'll get all of that news, and you'll be able to track it.
Father, from your perspective, the faith is strong. I suspect, with all those volunteers and all those people that come through the doors of the shrine. From your perspective, in the broader scale, getting the message out about Mary, getting the message out about her gift to us, how does that encourage you How does that make you feel to know that your work is so important and so vital in today's world?
You know what encourages me the most is how many people are willing to participate in that mission, the mission of promulgating the medal. You know, not only Mary Jo, but her entire staff, the volunteers, people who are, we call them the devotees of the shrine, people who come to the shrine, and they encourage friends, neighbors, family members to come to the shrine and to place their needs. And you can tell, as the priest of the shrine, you can tell who's the visitor, who's here for the first time, and you can see the troubled faces on people, and they're placing before Mary their particular pain, their particular hurt, their particular need. And so to me, that just enriches my own faith to see the great faith of so many other people.
The exact location of the shrine for people, I mean, they can go to the website and find, but where exactly is it located?
So it's the address is 450 East Shelton Avenue in the Germantown section of Philadelphia.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us here on this
Thank you,
program.
Paul.
Very informative half hour. Time flies when you're having fun, they say, and hopefully we can get your message out and continue the great work that the both of you are spearheading there at the shrine and the organization.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks so much for being with
Paul.
us. Until the next time, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching the Philly Factor. We'll see you next time around.